Hi everyone, thanks for watching. So today I'm just going to tie a pretty basic olive dun. It's a really simple pattern, but it's one that you can't be without, to be honest. So we'll get started. In the vise we've got a Barbless Hook Company BHC 101. So it's a light dry hook. This one's a size 16. Thread, we're going to use it's a Semperfi 30 denier olive, so it's the nano silk. So get straight on with some thread. I find with the Semperfi you've got to put quite a few turns in because it's quite slick, so if you don't get quite a few turns in before you cut your tag away, you're not going to be able to hold it all together. So, little bed of thread, come back up here. So the first thing I want to do is tie my wing in. I'm going to be using a CDC wing. I think the most important thing when you're tying something like this is the body profile. For instance, I'm about to tie this wing in, and obviously I'll show you how I'll do it. Couple of CDC feathers. So I'm going to tie them in this way. If I tie them in this way, I'm going to end up with quite a bulky head that I'm going to have to trim away. Whereas if I tie them in the way that I'm going to tie them in, it'll just help me build that profile, and also the wing it'll be easier to make the wing sit right. So how big do I want the wing? A little bit smaller. So I'm just basically stroke all the fibres together, pinch it in, about there is where I want it. Put a little loose turn in there, and then a couple more over the top. Just make sure it's sitting on the top there. So that's in. So what I want to do now is just trim this away, slight angle, slightly sloping back towards the bend in the hook, and then I'm just going to come all the way down just to build that nice little slope. I'm going to do one more in there now while I'm here, and then back down. So the next thing I want to do is put my tail in. So I'm going to start my tail about there. So for this I'm going to be using the Hen's Micro Fibbits. This is number 34, so it's a olive. So nice stiff fibbits. I'm just going to take a little bunch off there. It's up to you. If you want it ultra realistic, then you would probably go by how many tails the specific fly you want to imitate has. This is a kind of all-purpose olive done, so I'm not going to say, oh, I need 2 or I need 3. I'm just going to put a little clump on there. There's maybe half a dozen there, so it doesn't need to be too long. Loose one, a couple of tight ones to wrap it in. Right. So then, to keep the body uniform, I want to be snipping somewhere up here rather than down here. About like that. And then we'll just come back up. Just nice and slow, just to build that up there. Trap those fibres in. Just evening it out a little bit. I'm going to put one underneath, 2 underneath, just in case it wants to sag down a bit. If you put a little bump in, it'll keep those tail fibres upright. So for the body, what I'm going to use is some of this Nature's Spirit Turkey Bio. This one's in a light olive, so we're just going to take one of those off eventually. And then just offer the tip in like this. Oh, I've got two there. Just split those with my dubbing needle. So we'll just offer the tip in. I'm going to offer quite a large tag end, just because the tip is obviously going to be a bit more brittle, so just to reduce the risk. Also, using such a fine thread, I want to go quite gentle with the turns. If you come in straight away with hard wraps, it cuts through the material, and then you're back to square one. So I'm just going to lift that tag snipper away. Now I'm just going to tighten everything up a bit. And I'm going to stop just shy of the CDC wing there. And then hackle pliers onto the base of this quill. And then just going to turn it up here. Nice close wraps, just take your time with it. Just have to be careful when you're going past the point of the hook. Can't tell you how many times I've snapped the quill on there. So it gives a lovely segmented effect, and obviously the further up you go, the wider the quill is, because you get into the base of the quill. So it does give a really good effect. So I'm going to stop there, I'm going to go over there, just locking it in place here. So I'm happy that's secure. I'm just going to come in, trim it as close as I can. So that's the body done. The last thing we want to do is put a little thorax in. So there's two reasons for this. The first one, fishability. So if you've got a little bit of scruffy dubbing on there, it's going to imitate insect legs. Sometimes it can be the difference between the fish taking your fly and not. So quite often I would advocate putting a little thorax in there. The other main reason for me is we're using a CDC wing, and CDC is infamously kind of delicate. You need to give it all the protection you can. So just by building a little base of dubbing around it, you're going to protect it from the water, from the fish. It just makes it last a little bit longer. So I'm going to use some of this Vicuna dubbing. This is a box of olive blends. Now, for me, I'm going to use the medium olive. I think it kind of complements the rest of the pattern quite nicely. So I'm just going to take a tiny little pinch there. As always with dubbing, I think start off with a tiny bit. You can always add more if you need to. So just gonna couple of wraps up there, Then the last thing I want to do is pull that wing back a little bit and stick a couple of wraps in front. There we go. So just to secure everything in, I'm going to use my dubbing needle here, and I'm just going to half hitch on the handle. Just going to pull that in tight. So there you've got that nice profile, olive done. Now, because we're quite close to the eye here, I'm not going to bother using a kind of whip finish. I'm just going to half hitch it, and that's it. So I'll throw another couple in here.